What's going on out there today, YouTube and fitness world? Once again, Chris Levine. And for this particular episode in our road to handstand for beginners, we're going to be going over another technique to where it's going to help to build basic shoulder strength, all right? Because our last episode, we did the kick ups to the wall, which is a phenomenal exercise. But for this particular exercise, we're going to be keeping our arms straight and we're going to be curled into a tuck. So if you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit notifications so you can continue to get updates for this particular series that we're doing for Road to Handstand for Beginners. And sit back and relax, and we're definitely going to have a good episode for you today for handstands. All right, everybody, welcome back. So like I said in the intro, today for this particular episode for Road to Handstands for Beginners, today we're going to be going over one of my favorite exercises to build basic shoulder strength. But not only that, but it helps you to work on your balance going forward and back, and it also helps you to work on your descent. So what it is essentially is we're going to be going into a half handstand. So you're pretty much taking out the lower body portion, like your legs portion of the handstand, and just focusing on the balancing from your upper body, focusing on basic strength of your shoulders, and it's going to be utilizing a lot of mobility and of your wrist, right? So like I said, if at any point you feel like a certain amount of pain to where like your wrist feel like it's like not normal, or you got to go re-warm up your wrist, then make sure you do so, because it's not worth getting an injury and not being able to train. So for this particular portion, what you do is you'll start from the bottom, just like this. All right, and instead of, for a handstand, normally we have one leg back. For this portion, we're gonna have both knees tucked in, just like such. Make sure your arms are completely straight, like here. Make sure you all can see. You're gonna make sure your arms are completely straight. And as you go up, you're gonna jump with 2 feet instead of 1. So it's gonna look like this. All right, so if you notice in the beginning, I did like 2 or 3 reps to where I didn't fully go up. That is one of the best ways for you to actually get into the exercise. It's because you're reintroducing your body to that position and you're warming up those muscles that are utilized to get into that position. So if you can't do it first try every time, that's fine. You don't need to be able to do it first try every time. We're building you up to where you're proficient at being able to do the actual exercise. So if you notice, when I was up, I was slightly leaning forward while I was continuing to tuck my knees in, right? So in the beginning, the biggest thing is just getting you used to jumping with 2 feet as opposed to 1 that you do for the normal full handstand. So you're here, all right? Remember, fingers forward, arms completely locked out, and you want to push your shoulders as hard as you can into the ground. So protract those scapulas, push it as hard as you can into the ground. You should be like slightly on your toes, and keep those knees relatively tucked, hands about shoulder width apart. Remember, fingers forward, and you're just gonna work on your jumps. So in the beginning, I don't expect you to just balance in the air. What I expect you to do is just work on going up controlled and coming down controlled, no matter how high you go. So for beginners, it'll probably look like this. Now, if you notice, I didn't go all the way up, and that's okay. You want to start off slow, start off lower, and then build your proficiency up so that when you do get into that position, you already have an understanding of how you recover out of that position and what it feels like to slightly be into that position. So as you start to advance a little bit more, there's other ways to getting into the tuck. But for this particular video, I want you to just work on, I would say maybe between, I would say only do about, at most, 10 reps until you rest. Because what happens is your shoulders get extremely fatigued. Even me, if I do too many reps, let's say there's some days where I wore myself out and I can't get into that position. If I do too many reps before resting, I'm postponing the inevitable, which is not getting into that position, but I'm fatiguing my muscles, so I'm definitely not able to get into that position. So at most 10 reps, let's say you're trying to get into it and you just cannot get into it, then I want you to just stop after 10, rest for about 3 to 4 minutes. Yes, 3 to 4 minutes, because it puts a lot of pressure on your muscles and on your joints, and then come back and then re-attack it. Start off with your basic fundamentals: arms straight, shoulders pushed down, knees tucked, and then go into your repetition for the movement. Now, once you get into it to where you're fully up, right, you're gonna make sure you keep those arms straight and then focus on keeping those knees tucked as you're actually doing it, right? So it'll be like this. So you notice how I kept my knees tucked in nice and tight? You're actually utilizing your lower back to actually do that as well. And you're using compression in order for you to keep into like this tight ball. So those are all very important. And then as you're going forward and backwards, you want to take the tips of your fingertips and actually push them into the ground, right? Once, like I said, it puts a lot of strain on your wrist. So if you start to feel a little bit of pain, go ahead and get down, re-warm your wrist up, or just re-attack it on another day when you're not as sore. So this is one of my favorite ways to not only work on shoulder strength, conditioning for the handstand, but also it helps you to work on your balance. So when you're adding your legs to the handstand, you're adding more length, so it makes it a little bit harder to balance, if that makes sense. So it's a lot harder to balance a handstand than it is to balance this. So when I was learning the handstand, I did a lot of days. This was like one of my favorite things to do, because once I was able to balance like that with the tuck, it made it a little bit easier for when I actually practice my handstands. So I'm very confident that all of you, as long as you're doing these fundamentals the way I'm showing you, you're gonna continue to build up your conditioning and your strength for being able to do a handstand.